is very important to us.
You're listening to Team Call with Beaksy, your direct line into daily conversations with the team behind one of Chicago's fastest growing Bitcoin startups. In each episode, you'll gain firsthand insight on topics ranging from entrepreneurship and operation strategy to technology and cryptocurrency market analysis. Whether you're looking to level up your trading acumen or you just want some alpha on how to run a startup in crypto land, you'll hear about it on Team Call. So who's already on? Beaksy's co-president, Bay Abbott, in addition to James Carney and Steve Sophocleos, who head up the marketing team, and Cooper Craighead, director of customer support. Let's join in.
Last.
C'est la vie kind of shit, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that would have been the thing to finally convince people to start using the platform.
Yeah.
Real quick, I forget, do either of you have an iPhone?
Yeah, I do.
Can you check and see if in the app, if you're able to open the My Account section?
You know, like last night I tried and I couldn't because we were talking about something on the happy hour related to withdrawing crypto. No, it was on the Victor call. Anyway, I tried last night and it didn't work.
I launched the app and I can't even get to the pin screen. It's not accepting that. So
I get through the pin screen on mine. I'm on it right now, but the My Account section is not accessible. I click on it, it's just like blank.
Oh, shit. Okay. Someone reported it, and I checked on Android and couldn't do it.
So it's not working on Android either?
I just wanted to double check for iOS, but the web devs know about it. Hopefully we'll be resolving it shortly.
Okay.
I just came into that. Was that an issue on the platforms too?
No.
Okay.
Seems to work fine on the platform. Just seems to be.
Oh yeah, I just got in. Okay. On the web platform.
Yep. Just a problem on the mobile app. So they're looking into it.
Well, at least that's the only problem. I mean, the only, maintenance problem right now.
Yep. I feel much less, I know people have their preferences and not having access via the mobile app is never ideal, but when there's another readily available and very easy way, just go to the webpage. I generally feel substantially less pressure to get things fixed. It's when it's like, oh yeah, no withdrawals or deposits are working. It's like,
yeah,
guys.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm on FTX International, and for whatever reason, I didn't think I would be like a mobile app trading guy, but I do almost all of my stuff on the mobile app now. So I could see how for some people it's like annoying, but it's not a showstopper if it were.
Actually, I'm kind of curious. Just wondering if the mobile web version works.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because they just did that update recently. If you go to a mobile browser, I've got my daughter in my arms, or else I would give it a run for you. She woke up right before, but she's being pretty chill. So
no worries.
I'm giving it a go on iOS.
So what's going on with the market? I was kind of reading earlier that a lot of the downtrend is not change in the overall narrative, but I guess it's just cascading effects of levers liquidations, which I think Brian mentioned something about last time we talked. But
it seems to just be keeping us in a range, yeah. Where those far where the high money bands are up and down in that range on the options plays, it just can't get past that as resistance and can't go below it as support. Which I think the really good evidence of that was, let me pull it up. October 20th. So 56,500 was a pretty big support line that we just ran right down through and then promptly ran right back up to 67,000. People just when you start to see less respect and less reaction for support and resistance and it's held in a range, then that the big money moves and those are more in control than the psychological aspect of it just falling through and then continuing to fall.
It seems like the mechanics of the situation, regardless of what triggered it, the mechanics of it, I think, as we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, take on a life of their own. And now you've got tons of people just essentially trying to create the reality by keeping it under 60 ahead of Friday. that it will go down. So, because I guess Friday's like is it the November options expiry?
It probably
monthly?
is. Yeah. I think it's usually that last Friday, but the
Yeah.
volatility's been there. I mean, it's been a really good environment for traders the last couple weeks.
But it's crazy because you're getting all this bullish news, I guess, like of sorts, whether it's like Australian pension fund investing or, you know, El Salvador doubling down and all this other stuff, but it doesn't really seem to be doing anything to the price.
And that goes back to that point that to me says that some big players are keeping it in a spot, which I wouldn't say artificially, but just, you know, using their influence and their resources.
You never know. It could be people that are like super Bitcoin maxi that are trying to drive the price down to a point where they want to buy. Like, it's a weird dynamic.
It does happen. I mean, if you're long term, if you don't plan to sell in the next 10 years, the prices right now are completely irrelevant to you. Completely irrelevant. So that as cheap as you can get it is as good as you can get it with conviction.
Definitely reading this morning that a lot of institutional money bought the dip. Yeah, making those long-term plays or seeing that opportunity and snatching it when they can. I'm
curious though, in a situation like, let's say a situation like Michael Saylor's or a situation like Nayib Bukele's in El Salvador, it's like minute changes in the price can have pretty serious consequences, like politically speaking in El Salvador's case, and then, you know, for the future of MicroStrategy on the other hand, you know, even like no matter how maxi they are, I feel like, you know, if things go too far, like it becomes a real serious problem on other levels.
It would need a substantial dip, less so for El Salvador, like in the 40,000s, I think El Salvador starts to sweat, but Saylor's average price is even well below that.
Yeah, it's in the 20.
Yeah. I did see, though, that they were like, he mentioned something about creating a Bitcoin city with no taxes whatsoever, which I think is fascinating. I think it's about time that somebody experimented with that.
Honestly, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to be like, it's early days to be like, you know, El Salvador and San Salvador is going to be a Bitcoin paradise, but it would be so sweet if in like, you know, 5 to 7 years, this is the new Silicon Valley, but Silicon Valley for the world. Right. Like,
and you could imagine for a nation like that, how huge that potentially can be. That can be a real game changer for them.
He's super interesting to me, honestly. Like, he gets a lot of criticism for being like authoritarian, but his PR team is doing everything right for like, his image on Twitter, and everything he does is just spot on to win him tons of support locally. You know, we're using our profits to build pet hospitals. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see the authoritarian stuff. I might have to take a deeper look into that.
Yeah, but like before the Bitcoin play, like he used to get a lot of criticism from Western media for being too authoritarian and centralizing too much authority, that kind of thing. But
the legacy system, putting the new one down. Right on cue.
A couple weeks ago, I had a happy hour of sorts with a friend of mine. He had his friend there who has worked for the IMF for 15 years or something like that. It was super funny, like dynamic, obviously me working in crypto. But I just remember his friend that works for the IMF just being like, this whole publicity stunt with Bukele, he's just trying to show that he's a tech bro and it's all going to end like horribly. And, you know, we're going to be the ones sitting there saying, I told you so. I was like, yeah, it pretty much lives up to what I read coming from the IMF.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to go like that.
Par for the course.
But I expected you to say something like that.
They're so Bitcoin upset. At 100,000, they're Bitcoin at 200,000. Like then they're just printing money. That country, especially if they're sending it out to their citizens. You know, I think they started with like a dollar equivalent version in their digital wallets, but you know, it's good exposure within the border.
I feel like their biggest problem would be getting people to actually like use it for buying daily items. You know, because I think everybody in the world.
Necessary. Yeah. Like if they have a digital equivalent for the dollar, that's even better. And like what we were just looking at in Turkey, if you have a situation where your national currency or surrounding currencies are against the dollar, even losing, you know, 10% a month, if you're in Bitcoin, you're more or less fully protected against that.
Oh, they've got some kind of stable coin that's pegged to the dollar.
I think they and the digital wallet that they built. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I just saw some video the other day of some guy like buying coffee with Bitcoin in El Salvador. I was like, why are you buying coffee with that? Keep that. It's much better in your saving.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, I don't know what fees they worked on that or if they're using the Lightning Network. I assume they were for something like that.
At any rate, I'm hoping that I'd read something just about the market in general that was like, you know, expect it to take the path of Max Payne on its way up. So it seems like we're on chart for this weird path of max pain, but the overall narrative hasn't changed and everything's bullish. So I would anticipate that we're not headed for a May style event here in the short term, at least.
I think that that institutional inflow number kind of echoes that too.
Weirdly enough, these P2E gaming tokens are bucking all market trend. I don't know why, but they don't seem to have the same price dynamic. And I don't know if it's just because the metaverse and Decentraland are getting a lot of media play right now and a lot of investment from VC firms, and they're like their own animal that doesn't follow the whole paradigm where Bitcoin leads the price for most other coins.
Yeah.
And this may just be a short-term anomaly, but it's been enough days in a row to be interesting for sure.
How much of it, because my guess is that it really sparked with Facebook changing their name to Meta and kind of signaling a huge move into the metaverse. I just feel like the timing worked out the same there, but then it's really continued on. Like I mentioned that I was in UFO, it was a play to earn token, but I mean, they consistently have been running for over a month now.
Well, I think Mana just broke new all-time highs today.
And Mana too, and Sandbox. I mean, they've been going for quite some time now, full steam ahead.
I think some of the applications with Decentraland in particular are pretty impressive. I think they just sold their most expensive plot of land ever, either today or yesterday, at like 2.7 million. And I guess it's going to be used for like virtual fashion shows from like luxury brands, things like that. But it's going to be wild. People just logging into this virtual city from their house, COVID or not, and just going to, hey, meet me at the fashion show or the concert or whatever. Like I was on their Discord earlier, and they've got all these like concerts from, not like insanely famous artists, but guys and girls that are on the rise. Or I think like Paris Hilton's doing an event in Decentraland or something like that.
And just for reference for listeners, the 2.5 million was for 116 parcels of land in Decentraland, which they're equating to 6,090 square feet. So you can imagine if you bought a property of that size or a house of that size anywhere, that's if you want to equate it to anything. I guess that also equals 618,000 Mana tokens.
So what's the price per square foot in virtual world? I'm just curious where it's at right now, because I know
about 416 per square foot.
Okay. Absolutely mind-boggling. But yeah, anyway, this PDE trend is definitely one to follow, getting a decent amount of attention. Cooper, how are things going on the exchange side? I know we've got a few listings coming up and a couple other initiatives that we're running, but people may just want to hear whatever updates we can give.
Most of the stuff that we're doing is sort of back end stuff. I don't know how far out it is, but talking with the front end devs about finally getting USD equivalents on the order book to make it easier to read. I know that we've talked before about people thinking in sats, but I think that is a little bit of, is kind of a little bit going by the wayside, at least as far as retail crypto traders. At one point that was like something that everyone needed to do, but as more and more people have jumped in with little to no stake in crypto to begin with, like forcing that doctrine on people just isn't working anymore. So
kind of have to meet customers where they're at.
Yeah. And I mean, for what it's worth, not having to do conversions in your head on a regular basis when you do need to figure out like the dollar cost average of something would certainly be nice. So that's planned. I don't know. I should say the seed for that has been planted. They're looking into options for how best to do that, just so that the order book is probably going to seem a little more cluttered from one perspective, but I think it'll be easier to read from another. It's just a matter of like kind of balancing that clutter with a design that makes it easy enough to read even when there's extra numbers in there.
It's pretty important, honestly, especially when you start getting into some weird trading pairs. We don't have too many of them, but if you can imagine like alt against alt or something like that, or it's your eyes start to gloss over looking at the order book, wondering like how much even is this.
And particularly if you've actively traded from one asset to another asset and then are looking to trade into a third, it's like following the train of like, what have I actually been doing? Plus fees and everything else is just sort of be a little difficult. I would say that's kind of the main front end thing that I am chasing down at the moment. A lot more of the things that we're doing are on the back end. I don't know what happened recently that address validation broke. So there were issues with withdrawals.
Okay.
And it affected some. I'm a little confused as to how exactly it happened because it affected some currencies completely and other currencies incompletely. So like it would accept Bitcoin addresses, but not, I think it was SegWit addresses weren't working. I'm just about to test right now. Bitcoin Cash wasn't working at all. I'm just about to put in a test transaction and see if it will at least take addresses now, because what was happening for that one is just nothing. Like you could put in a completely valid address and it would just not respond. So
weird. Did that paperwork for the new node get sent off and that's all good to go?
Yep, that is in the hands of Block Daemon now, and they are hopefully getting us the credentials for the node either sometime today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's
cool.
Yeah, glad that finally got through. And then,
so with any luck, maybe like the week after the holiday here, maybe midweek, we'd be able to pull the trigger on that. Or not? You think it'll take more testing on our end?
No, I think that we should be able to go next week. I would say this week, but I'm just not sure when we're going to get access from Block Daemon.
Okay.
And I'd like to give the devs 24 to 48 to test stuff just in case. I don't think we'll need it on the back end, but it can't hurt to have that little bit of buffer. And once that is added, it should be, or once that's confirmed, it should be about 24 hours just so that I can do the front end tests, deposit withdrawal trading, and Naeem can get market making access and stuff set up.
Okay. Briefly, just on like custody migration in general terms, there, a migration is underway of sorts, but is that going to enable us to list some stuff, or at least more easily list some stuff that we haven't been able to, or it's been too sticky to list in the past?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Anything that they have, anything that the new provider has available, anything that they support right out of the gate, we will be able to add much more easily after the initial, learning curve of finding out how to work with it. The devs did some looking into it, and it does have a very different API than Curve. So there will be some amount of kind of catch-up time to get everything moved over, and then also to sort of learn how to integrate a new currency from there. Once that happens, though, there is a decent list of stuff that we've wanted to list before that should be substantially easier. We won't have to go through the entire process of setting up a node or even trying to track down a software library to talk to the node, because all of that is done behind the scenes for us. They'll just need to connect to the API, and all of the transactional stuff will be, and wallet creation and everything else will be taken care of that way.
So really, we should thank PayPal for poaching our custody provider.
Yes. I think Curve was at a point where it's sort of an interesting time for them to get purchased, because I think that they were sort of like a lot of companies really first on the scene with the level of security that they were offering. And right before they were purchased, I feel like some other competition had started to crop up, and they were starting to kind of step up their game to remain kind of a leader in the space.
Right.
So I think it would have been interesting to see how that played out, where they eventually got to. But on the other hand, it is also nice to, jump on board someone else who has built that way from the ground up and has learned from kind of Curve's setbacks or shortcomings or whatever you want to call it. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'm also part of me wonders if how is the valuation affected? Like Curve was obviously acquired at the time it was acquired last year at a pretty huge valuation in crypto. If there had been more near rival services, which not that there weren't other competitors, but Curve I think had like a decent advantage. I wonder if it had been another 6 or 8 months or another year before they'd been acquired, if their valuation goes down or up. I mean, a lot of money printing, so maybe up, but
right. Yeah, it's definitely hard to say. I think it would have been interesting to see how they would have kept up technologically speaking, because that was sort of like their biggest asset was, the UI works and is okay, and the custody itself, from my understanding, is certainly robust, but it's not anything that other people couldn't provide. Their sort of big thing was this sort of blind trust third party signature, like the ability to create wallets that multiple people could sign from, but no one person ever had like complete access to.
I think they call it multi-party compute, right? Or MPC. Yeah. They were like one of the first players at that table.
Yeah. And as revolutionary as that is, as we're seeing now, there's other people have sort of caught on to that. So it would have been interesting to see what, additional innovations they could have come up with to, I guess, stay relevant in the space. But, we'll see that play out with their competitors now. One thing that I'm really curious to see is allegedly, and I haven't gotten too far into how this works from a technical aspect, but allegedly our new provider has some sort of trick or I don't even know what to call it, but something that is supposed to help substantially with gas fees and sweeping.
Scheme.
So that
use the word scheme. Use the word scheme.
Scheme. Yeah. Some sort of scheme. Not to do that and like
the bad
put my fingertips together and make an evil laugh, but something that reduces gas fees substantially for us on sweeping, which is good, because I think if we were to take a harder look at the numbers right now, even with the withdrawal fees that we have that people are unhappy about, we're still probably losing money on ERC20 transactions, probably quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Because, someone deposits $10 worth of USDT, we have to spend $30 to $50 worth of ETH to send more ETH to that wallet, and then that earns another $30 to $50 worth of ETH to send it back.
I hope these Decentraland kids' parents have a lot of money, because it's not going to be cheap. Yeah.
No doubt.
Question though, like, are ETH miners just absolutely rolling in it right now? Like, do all these gas fees essentially translate to like doing super well if you're mining Ethereum?
I'm not sure what part of that is the miner fee. I think that
because when you up your gas price, it essentially it's a mercenary thing, right?
Yeah, they have to be.
I mean, I would assume yes.
And all you need is a pretty powerful laptop. I think Brian told me that once. Like, you don't need like an insane rig to do ETH mining.
I wonder if that's still true, or if people have figured out how to.
I'm looking at it versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin stably collects like 10 to 30 million a month in fees. And then if you look at July 2020, I mean, ETH this is even from last year before things really got crazy started at, 200 million a month.
Wow.
It's got to be even higher than that now.
Oh, it has to be insane now.
And I'm assuming there's a portion of that goes into like a I don't know, some kind of decentralized treasury, or like, there's a breakout. Some of it goes to miners, some of it goes to other places.
Yeah,
all of that goes to the miners. Yeah.
I don't think all of it, but
yeah.
Time to look up ETH mining, I guess.
I have a very newbie question that I've been asked by people that I have to explain Bitcoin to, but like, I'm not super clear on it. Maybe you guys are. What happens after all 21 million are mined? Like, where does all the compute power in the network then just go to like forging new blocks for transactions?
The fee would have to be higher for sure. But you can imagine, I mean, I think that's supposed to happen in roughly 100 years. So
all 21 million?
Yeah, because once you start halving, the numbers get so low for the block reward. So it's almost like, depending on the price of Bitcoin, you might even have to solve that issue before that. Because if you're halving down to, each block reward is I forget what the lowest will be. But if it's like, say, a block reward is 0.004 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin's not at a very substantial price at that point, then, you'd still need to add a new incentive for them, which would just be fees. But I think it's still debated too. Yeah. Other scenarios or other solutions that could be implemented.
But typically the halving produces a huge price increase, right? Like, at least past halvings, I think, have in some regard. Or as you get closer so
far, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So in 100 years or whatever, when all 21 million have been mined, like, it's just all that compute that everybody's building all this infrastructure for, which I guess 100 years is a decent amount of time to invest in.
February 2140 is when the last Bitcoin will be mined. Yeah.
All right. Well, and I don't need to worry
figure it out.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'll explain it to my daughter, on my deathbed, and she can explain it to her kids. Then they can deal with it. But yeah, anyway, I was just curious about that. Some of these other networks, like I think Avalanche or Algo, for example, I know they've made a lot of headway in the press and kind of in the public consciousness by touting that you don't have to waste energy doing cryptography puzzles. to secure the network, which, I'm sure there's a trade-off that they're not putting on the table there. It's probably less secure, or at least I've heard a lot of people say that it can't be as secure. But
I think if you want, it's like you could trade it off either way. You could either trade it off for less security or less decentralization. I think that's the primary trilemma, as they call it. But you could trade that off and just be very centralized like Solana and maintain security and low fees. But, it's nobody's really cracked the code on having all three yet. Although I think Algorand claims that they have. So I'm excited to, see if that plays out.
Yeah, that I was looking into some stuff with Algo the other day, but that founder is super impressive. He's I guess like the Turing Award is like the Nobel Prize for computer science, and he's won that. So teaches at MIT.
On the old CV,
yeah. I guess that helps. It's he's no Satoshi Nakamoto yet, but guy might be going places. Dallin, you got any coins you're messing around with right now?
Nothing all that interesting. I mean, there's a NFT I had bought a few months back, the Crypto Cavemen, and they released their own token called Cave, and it's kind of interesting to see how it went from 30 cents to like $3 now.
Cave token?
And so
really,
yeah, Cave token.
Was that was it like a snapshot? Because I had one of those, but I sold it super early.
Yeah, it was a snapshot. So
dang,
if you were holding it, I mean, I think it's worth like $600 per caveman you had. So pretty rewarding.
What blockchains it on? Solana?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing those, I think.
Yeah, so they seem to be doing pretty well, all things considered, because NFTs seem to be kind of dead at the moment. So it's kind of cool to see something stand out a little bit and see some action. But this token will be used in game and in their marketplace that's coming up. And so it'll be fun to see how that plays out.
In game, meaning they have some kind of game in the works?
Yeah, so they've got a PvP game in the works. And I guess this token that they've created, the Cave token, will be what's used for, I guess, leveling up your character, for fixing your weapons, for any, I don't know, I guess they're going to be doing like cave real estate, and who knows what else they're doing.
It's going to be super funny when like you break your sword in your game and then like you don't have like real money to repair it. So you're just out of action.
It does make it more realistic though, in a sense.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept of I guess using in-game currency with an actual cryptocurrency.
Can you imagine if like the most successful video game franchise out there right now just like overnight implemented an economy like that? If like Call of Duty or something implemented an economy coins. Like that. Like, yeah, like oh shit, your gun's broken. Like you got to pay to get it fixed.
That would be bad for the parents of Fortnite children. I could include my nephew in that and my brother-in-law.
What's it called? V-Bucks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, with the V-Bucks. Good Lord.
All these companies have like this a friendly fraud policy, which is like, because they make a ton of money off of it, which is such a like kids using their parents' credit cards without them knowing and like racking up like way too many charges. But they like kind of account for that because I guess it's a profitable enterprise, obviously.
I'm just curious how in-game tokens are going to be successful in the long term. If the price goes up a lot, I feel like you're going to have to change the dynamics of the game.
Thanks for joining us on Team Call. We'd love to connect with you outside of the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Beaksy Exchange and at Bade Bitcoin. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Beaksy Exchange and at Beaksy, BEAXY.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, cheers.
Thank you for calling